Hello everyone, we are students from True Light Girls College. Do you all know about our future buddy for the next few months? Here's where focus will be today. What is a crab? Common features among crabs of different species. Examples of different types of crabs. Where do crabs live? Our main crab focus. Horseshoe crabs, our buddy. Basics about our buddy. Buddy in trouble. And ways to save buddy. So now, let's begin. What is a crab? Crabs are animals that live in water. They are invertebrates, meaning they have no backbone. All crabs are covered by hard shells that protects their internal organs. The gills which they use to pull oxygen from water are hidden inside the shell. Their physical features. Crabs and other crustaceans have a hard covering known as the exoskeleton. Like its relative, the lobster, a crab has 5 pairs of legs. The first pair has large pinching claws that help with feeding and defense. The last pair may be bowed and flattened to serve as paddles for crabs that swim. The tail of a crab is curled under its midsection. Crabs breathe by using gills, but the gills of land crabs have developed in such a way that they act like lungs. Crabs have broader bodies than other crustaceans. They come in a great range of sizes. Tiny pea crabs may measure less than an inch, which is 2.5 centimeters across. Some have paddle-shaped legs to help them swim. It depends on the kind of species. Most crabs are scavengers, meaning they eat dead or decaying material. Some crabs may feed on vegetables matter, and others eat small living animals. A crab's 2 large eyes extend from the head on movable stalks, located above 2 pairs of antennas. The mouth is on the underside of the head. Where do crabs live? Crabs can be found in all oceans and in fresh water. Some crabs live on land, sometimes several miles from water. Species such as the feeder crab live in burrows in sand or mud, where they stay during winter and high tides. Others live within the shells of oyster or mussels. Types of species of crabs. Pea crabs. The pea crabs, or Pinofera faba, is the smallest crab in the world. Female pea crabs measure half an inch across at the largest, and male pea crabs are significantly smaller, at less than a third of an inch wide. Japanese spider crabs. These crabs are the largest, spanning up to 12.5 feet from the tip of one front claw to the other. They're also one of the world's largest arthropods. Animal with no backbone, external skeleton, and multiple joints appendages. Horseshoe crabs is our main focus for today. Here's some basic information. The scientific name is called the Lamelidae. They distribute in tropical marine and brackish waters in India, Bangladesh, Southeast Asia, China, and Hong Kong. Their food is mainly worms, clams, and algae. Now, we are going to watch a video about it.
Are often called living fossils because they were around before the dinosaurs. They are more closely related to spiders and scorpions than they are to crabs, thus, they are not true crabs. They have primitive gills that allow them to remain out of water for up to 4 days. They have 2 primary compound eyes, along with many secondary simple eyes. In the late spring and early summer, horseshoe crabs will crowd beaches in order to lay their eggs. This usually happens during the full moon at high tide. The female crab will partially bury herself in the sand and lay around 4,000 eggs per cluster. Over a course of a few days, the female may lay 100,000 eggs. Only a small amount of these eggs will survive. Any eggs that become exposed onshore are a major food source for migratory birds and loggerhead sea turtles. Eggs hatch within 2 to 4 weeks. The resulting larvae enter the water during high tide. Horseshoe crabs molt in order to grow. They reach maturity at 9 to 12 years of age. They can live around 20 years. Females grow larger than males. They can reach 2 feet in length. Horseshoe crabs use their tails as rudders in the water. They feed at night on things like marine worms, shellfish, and dead fish. In the winter, they can be found at depths down to 100 feet deep. Adult crabs are preyed upon by sharks, sea turtles, and birds. The blue copper-based blood of a horseshoe crab clots quickly in the presence of bacterial toxins, making horseshoe crabs very important to modern medicine. Medical researchers use it to test things like vaccines and medical devices to ensure that they are free of bacterial contamination. For this reason, horseshoe crabs are often pulled from the wild and drained of some of their blood before returning them to sea. According to an article in Scientific American, there are currently no restrictions on how many horseshoe crabs the medical industry can utilize. Researchers believe that returning these weakened crabs to the wild may be just condemning them to die. The numbers of horseshoe crabs are declining in many areas due to their popular use as commercial bait. Beach development threatens their spawning areas.
Threats faced by horseshoe crabs. Overharvesting of the animal for food, especially for their eggs. Biomedical testing unique. Copper-based blue blood contains a substance called luminous amebocyte lysate, or LAL. Marine life fishery collects live horseshoe crabs for resale as pets in aquarium, research subjects, or as educational specimens. Coastal development, which causes loss of spawning and nursery grounds. And pollution, which results in lower reproduction and survival rates. Now, we are going to watch a video about it.
This bluish liquid is one of the most expensive resources in the world. No, it's not the blue milk from Star Wars. It's actually blood from a horseshoe crab. And the stuff this blood makes costs $60,000 a gallon. So why is it so expensive? And who's buying horseshoe crab blood? The blue color comes from copper in the blood. But that's not its most interesting feature. The blood contains a special clotting agent. It's used to make a concoction called limulus amebocyte lysate, or LAL. Before LAL, scientists had no easy way of knowing whether a vaccine or medical tool was contaminated with bacteria, like E. coli or Salmonella. Scientists would inject vaccines into huge numbers of rabbits and then basically wait for symptoms to show up. But when LAL was approved for use in 1970, it changed everything. Drop a minuscule amount of it onto a medical device or vaccine, and the LAL will encase any gram-negative bacteria in a jelly cocoon. While it can't kill the bacteria, the jelly seal is like a fire alarm, alerting us to the presence of what could become a potentially lethal infection and prevent it from spreading. Each year, the medical industry catches around 600,000 horseshoe crabs. The crabs are drained of 30% of their blood, and up to 30% of the crabs don't live through the process. The survivors are returned to the water, but no one really knows how well or if they recover. In 2016, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature bumped the American horseshoe crab up to vulnerable on its red list, one step below endangered. And the US population could keep falling by as much as 30% over the next 40 years. LAL labs claim that the returned crabs eventually recover, but new evidence suggests that's not always the case. Wynne Watson is trying to figure out what happens to the crabs when they're put back in the sea.
So the most immediate negative effect is mortality. Anywhere from 10 to 25% of the animals will die within the first couple of days after you bleed them.
Bled crabs become disoriented and weak for a period of time, and females may have trouble spawning.
If they survive the first, we'll say 2 weeks, and they're back in their natural habitat, they did pretty well.
But it's getting through those 2 weeks that's the issue.
Based on our data and others, I think that you need to treat them a little. If you're going to get increase your survival rate, right, you need to treat them better.
Scientists are trying to find a synthetic alternative to help reduce the strain on the horseshoe crab population. But so far, LAL is still required by the FDA for this type of testing. So if these animals really aren't recovering at the rate companies previously thought, We might eventually run out of crabs to bleed. If that happens, our lives, and the lives of countless rabbits, might be at risk.
How to protect them? Preserve our horseshoe crabs by not eating or buying them. Start with small acts to reduce pollution and protect the environment. For instance, following the 3 R's principle: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Here's a warning. During the breeding seasons, mature female horseshoe crabs are sold in many seafood restaurants for their eggs. However, eating the eggs means killing thousands of horseshoe crabs' babies and murdering a life of more than 10 years old. Horseshoe crabs have successfully survived for millions of years. The future depends on how much you understand and appreciate their importance to our environment and to us. It's time to take action.